Have you ever wondered what happens in the exact moment your heart stops beating? Not in theory, not in a dream, but when your soul actually separates from your body and you're no longer here. Some call it a near-death experience. Others say it's just brain chemistry. But for those who lived it, they know. And once you've crossed that line, you never see life the same way again. Today's story isn't just another tale. It's a real account of a man who died on the operating table. Clinically, dead. No heartbeat, no breath. For minutes, he was gone. But what he saw on the other side? It was too real to be dismissed as imagination. Too detailed, too terrifying, too profound to be called a hallucination. He wasn't a believer. He didn't think much about life after death, heaven, hell, judgment. But in the stillness between heartbeats, in that frozen moment where time stood still, he saw something. Something dark, something personal, something eternal. And it all began in a cold hospital room, where machines hummed and masks moved silently, where his life was just another case, just another surgery. But beneath the surface, something far greater was unfolding. A spiritual journey he never asked for, a revelation he couldn't ignore. If you've ever lost someone, questioned what lies beyond, or wondered if there's more than this world can explain, keep watching. What you're about to hear might shake what you believe, or confirm what you've always felt deep inside. Before we dive in, I want to ask you something important. If you've ever felt something unexplainable, a presence, a dream, a moment you couldn't rationalize, share it in the comments. This space is for stories like yours, and if you believe this kind of truth needs to be heard, consider subscribing. There are more stories like this one, stories that might just be the wake-up call someone needs. Now, let's go back to the hospital, to the moment everything changed. Everything fades. The beeping, the voices, the tension of the room, gone. All at once, it's like someone turned off the sound of the world. There's no more weight, no more pain, no more breath, only a vast and silent stillness. And in that stillness, something strange happens. He becomes aware that he's still present, but not in the way he was before. There is no heartbeat anchoring him to flesh, no breath linking him to time. Instead, there's only observation, clarity, separation. He sees his body below, lying motionless on the cold table, surrounded by medical chaos. Doctors shouting, nurses moving fast, hands pressing against his chest in desperate rhythm. Their faces are tense, their voices urgent, but none of it reaches him. The moment is frozen, and from above, he watches it all, like a silent witness to the end of his own life. He should feel something. Fear, sorrow, confusion, but there's nothing. Just an eerie sense of detachment, as though he's been unhooked from everything that once defined him. Floating there, above, the scene, he's weightless. Time stretches. There is no beginning or end, only an infinite pause. He tries to speak, but there's no voice. Tries to move, but his limbs don't respond. It's not paralysis, it's absence. He's there, and not there. Present, but unreachable. And then, he feels it. A pull. At first it's subtle, like a whisper in the back of his mind, or a current beneath still water. But it grows stronger, insistent, undeniable. It doesn't come from the room, from the doctors, or from anything he can see. It comes from beyond, a force that doesn't speak with words, but with intention. It calls him, not with warmth, not with comfort, but with authority, and he's powerless to resist. He looks once more at the body on the table. It's pale, fragile, somehow less than what he thought it would be. There's no soul in it now, no spark. It's a shell, a memory, and in that instant, he realizes he has truly died. Not sleeping, not dreaming, not imagining. This is death, and something waits on the other side. As the pull intensifies, the hospital fades, the walls dissolve, the machines disappear, and even the light begins to change. It's not like waking from a dream. It's like being unhooked from reality itself. He isn't falling, but he's being drawn, slowly and steadily, into another realm, a place beyond comprehension, a space not bound by physical rules, a dimension where consciousness expands and truth can't be hidden. There's no tunnel, no bright light, only a deep, infinite darkness. But it's not empty. No, it's far from that. It feels inhabited, watched. The darkness has a presence, and that presence is aware of him, completely aware. Every thought, every memory, every secret, it's all exposed here, in the silence. He isn't alone, but he can't see what else is with him. He can only feel it. Something ancient, something waiting. His mind races to grasp meaning. Is this the afterlife? Is this what people mean by near-death experience? He tries to convince himself this is just a hallucination, a dream, some reaction in the brain as it shuts down, but nothing about it feels false. In fact, it's the opposite. It feels more real than anything he's ever known. Like everything before this was a pale imitation of truth. And now, he's standing in what's real. The weightlessness changes. He begins to descend, not falling exactly, but lowering, drawn deeper into this unfamiliar territory. The temperature drops. Or maybe it just feels that way because the warmth of life is no longer with him. He doesn't shiver, but the cold penetrates something deeper than the skin. A soul-deep chill, a sensation that something is wrong, that he is far from safety. The silence isn't peaceful. It's oppressive, heavy, the kind of quiet that makes your thoughts scream louder. Every regret he's buried, every mistake he's ignored, they begin to surface in his mind, not as memories, but as weight, invisible chains that seem to follow him as he goes further from the world he knew. Still, there is no voice, no face, just presence. And that presence seems to know him. Not the version he showed the world, but the raw, unfiltered version beneath all his layers. It knows his doubts, his anger, his guilt. And in this place, nothing is hidden, not even from himself. He wonders how long he's been here. Seconds, hours. Time doesn't work the same way. It stretches and contracts, becoming irrelevant. All that matters is what he feels. And what he feels is that he's approaching something. Something massive, unseen, but overwhelmingly real. It doesn't have a shape, but it has intent. And that intent is drawing closer. He senses it now with more clarity. A border, a crossing, a moment that will change everything again. A threshold he's about to step over. But into what? Heaven? Hell? Something worse? The fear begins to grow. Not a physical fear, but a spiritual one. The kind that whispers there may be no return. The kind that gnaws at the corners of your soul and says, this is only the beginning. The shift is instant. 1 second, he is wrapped in a cold silence, and the next, it's as if reality has been peeled away, revealing something much older, much deeper beneath it all. The darkness surrounding him is no longer just absence of light. It is a presence. It breathes, it listens, it judges. He can feel it wrapping around his soul like a mist that carries weight, pressing into his thoughts, his memories, his very being. There's no floor, no ceiling, no sky. Just an endless expanse of shadow that pulses with something ancient and alive. He is still being pulled, not with violence, but with certainty, like a river that's chosen its direction and doesn't need permission to take him. There is no resistance left in him. Whatever this force is, it's stronger than intention, stronger than will. It knows where he must go, and he follows, helpless but strangely aware. This is no dream. This is not a trick of the brain during clinical death. It is too detailed, too specific, too intimate. Around him the air grows thicker, heavier, with something he can't name. Not smoke, not fog, but something spiritual, something emotional. It carries the weight of grief, fear, and shame. Breathing it feels like inhaling guilt. And then come the whispers. They don't come from one place. They rise from everywhere and nowhere, circling him like ghosts without form. They sound like memories, fragments of conversations long forgotten, voices of people he once knew, and others he never met. They speak his name. They speak of moments he tried to bury, his failures, his betrayals, the lies he told himself, the opportunities he ignored to do what was right. Each whisper is a needle in the fabric of his soul, unraveling everything he built to hide from who he truly was. He tries to cover his ears. There are no ears. He tries to run. There are no legs. He tries to scream. But in this place, sound doesn't escape unless it's permitted, and he begins to understand that this place is not chaos. It is controlled. Every part of it seems governed by an intelligence beyond comprehension. It's not just darkness, it's conscious darkness. A living realm where the walls are made of memory and silence is its own kind of sound. Shapes begin to emerge. At first they are distant, just faint movements at the edge of the blackness, but they come closer. Not walking, not flying. They glide, or maybe they manifest. Their forms are twisted, warped versions of something once human, shadows in motion. Their bodies shift like smoke, but hold form just long enough to recognize pain in their posture, suffering in their motion. And they look at him, not with eyes, but with a presence that pierces deeper than sight. He feels naked, not physically but spiritually. Every layer of defense, every excuse, every carefully constructed version of himself is stripped away, and he is left with only what's real, his truth. And that truth is being studied, evaluated, perhaps even weighed by these beings that exist somewhere between torment and testimony. He drifts past them, and with every inch, time loses more of its meaning. Minutes feel like lifetimes. Seconds stretch into eternities. He thinks of the world he left, the hospital, the doctors, his family. But those thoughts are like whispers from a dream already fading. What matters now is this journey, this place, this unveiling. The deeper he goes, the more he begins to see that this realm is not just populated, it is layered. Dimensions within dimensions, pain woven into architecture, regret carved into atmosphere. There is no screaming, not like he imagined hell might be, but there is weeping, not always loud, sometimes soft, sometimes distant, but constant, and not just of others. Somewhere in that darkness he realizes he's weeping too, but not out of fear, out of recognition, out of the pain of being seen fully, without disguise. In the distance he sees flickers, like dying embers scattered across a void. They glow not with warmth, but with memories. Scenes from other lives, maybe. Echoes of pain that still cling to the souls that wander here. He's drawn to them, pulled closer. Each flicker is a moment someone tried to forget, a word they never apologized for, a decision they knew was wrong. It's all here, all of it. Nothing is erased in this place. Nothing is dismissed. He sees a shape huddled in one corner, rocking back and forth, its face buried in unseen hands. Another presses against an invisible wall, trying to escape a cage built from their own choices. They are not punished. They are bound to what they did. This realm doesn't torture, it reflects. And reflection here is agony. The whispers shift. They begin to sound like prayers, desperate, broken, unanswered. Some are centuries old, others feel recent, but they all echo with the same tone: regret, the kind that comes too late. And that's when he realizes where he is. Not in hell itself, perhaps, but in the edge of it. The border, a place where souls confront what they never wanted to face, where truth burns more than fire ever could. The force that guides him never speaks, but its intent is clear. He is meant to see, to witness, to remember, maybe even to be judged. And yet there's no jury, no gavel, just exposure, raw and unfiltered. He continues moving. He doesn't know how, but his soul seems to glide forward. The darkness deepens, the figures become more numerous, and now he sees children among them, not tortured, but alone, isolated. Souls that reflect sorrow too vast for words. Some look confused, some look shattered. He feels a weight growing in his chest, or what once was his chest. A heaviness that comes not from the darkness itself, but from what it reveals. This place doesn't hate, it mirrors, and some mirrors show things you were never meant to see. He wonders how long he can endure it, how deep this goes, what lies further. But there is no turning back. There is only forward, and somewhere beyond the dark, beyond the shapes, beyond the sorrow, something else awaits. He feels it calling, not loud, but constant. A pull deeper than gravity, deeper than memory. Something ancient, something final, and he's going toward it whether he wants to or not. Before you continue with this content that shows you what it's like to stand face to face with eternal judgment, you need to check out the e-book, Secrets of Life. This book reveals deep teachings from the scriptures, truths long forgotten by many, lessons that will strengthen your faith, restore your spirit, and help you understand God's path, even in your darkest moments. It's not just another book. It's a warning, a spiritual map for those who feel on the edge, between faith and emptiness, between the calling and the abyss. You don't have to wait for a life-altering wake-up call to open your eyes. After this video, click the link in the description and begin your spiritual turnaround today, because tomorrow might be too late. The darkness tightens around him as he descends deeper into this realm of raw awareness. He drifts through a haze of shadow and memory where each breath feels heavier than before. Then, without warning, they appear. Figures made of gloom, reflections of him from moments he never wanted to revisit. There is an iteration of him as a young man, when he spoke harshly to someone who trusted him. Another, when he chose silence over defense, letting fear hide the words he should have said. Each version stands like a silent accusation, frozen in a single instant of cruelty, selfishness, regret. He pauses, drawn to one shape that steps forward ahead of the rest. It moves slowly, as though weighted by sorrow, and then he hears it. His name, whispered not in fury, but in a sorrow so deep, it breaks something inside him. No shout, no condemnation, just the name of a man who believed himself beyond judgment. The voice is familiar and foreign, resonating with every hurt and mistake he ever inflicted or ignored. He stands there suspended, the world of regret spinning around him, and he feels the full weight of those moments. Memories flash. A time he dismissed a colleague's pain in the workplace, choosing career over kindness. A night he came home and ignored his partner's tears, too exhausted or self-absorbed to care. The words he never said, the apologies he never offered, the actions he took simply to protect his pride. Every moment he thought he got away with it is here, fully visible, fully alive, fully painful. He tries to look away, but the shadows have him in a grip stronger than his will. His soul begins to tremble. Fear isn't what seizes him. It's recognition. Recognition that none of those moments were insignificant. Recognition that every choice shaped a trail leading him here. Faint whispers swirl around, echoing voices of people he hurt or ignored. He hears a distinct voice. Why didn't you help me when I needed you? Most of these voices come not from the distance, but from within, as though they are pieces of himself crying for redemption. The sorrow in that single whispered question stretches across this silent void, and his throat tightens. He wonders how long he stood there, but time has no meaning. Each pulse of regret is its own eternity. He wants to beg, to cry out, but his voice is trapped. Instead, tears come, but not the tears of fear. They are the tears of someone who is finally, painfully honest with himself. He sees the figure move closer. It is not a monster. It is his own reflection, stripped of excuses, of deflection, of denial. And it speaks again, not with anger, but with sorrow. You knew better. The sorrow washes over him. It's not just guilt, it's clarity. He realizes that he's been living behind a mask, protecting his image while neglecting the truth of who he was becoming. The confrontation cuts deeper than any physical wound. It is a wound of the heart, of conscience. And yet through that wound, light seems to filter. Not warmth, not comfort, but a stark illumination of what he has avoided. He senses doors of perception opening, powerful, undeniable realization. He wants to run, but finds there is nowhere to go. This confrontation is inevitable, a reckoning, and he understands that if he denies it, if he turns away, he might be lost here forever. His soul trembles with anticipation. The shame claws at him like claws of living sorrow, but beneath the weight of shame is something else, a spark of resolve. He feels it ready to ignite, a flicker of a decision he refused to make in his life, to face the truth, to accept responsibility, to allow change. But he's not allowed to act yet, not until he fully sees. And these shadows, fragments of his regrets, press in, reminding him of every wrong, every regret, every person he let down. He hears voices longer now, not whispers. I trusted you, I needed you, I believed in you. Each voice matches a memory. Each memory is a pull on his heart. He falters as the realization sweeps over him like a wave. There are consequences to how he lived, even if only he knew. The realm he's in does not forgive ignorance or neglect. As he stands in the center of this space, the world seems to narrow to just this moment, just this confrontation. The ground beneath him, spiritual ground, shifts. The figures retreat slightly, giving him room but not freedom. He's expected to respond, to choose, to feel. He clenches whatever remained of his courage. For the first time, he speaks inside, not with words but with intention. I am sorry. It's not enough. He knows it, but it's genuine. And in this realm of spiritual truth, sincerity is more powerful than any grand gesture. Something shifts. The shadow figures waver, as though curious, uncertain, but the sorrow remains. And the pull that brought him here grows stronger still. He senses there's more ahead, more revelations, more confrontations. He doesn't yet know what awaits beyond this testing ground, but he knows that this trial is essential. He cannot turn back. He cannot remain here either. The pull intensifies, drawing him deeper into what looms beyond, something he must face if he hopes to return or leave. He takes a breath, but there is no air. He holds the emotional weight instead. Every choice in his life compressed into a moment of spiritual reckoning. And just as he steels himself, the shadows begin to thin. The sorrow remains, but the way forward emerges. A path not of light or darkness, but of truth and consequence. And he steps toward it, not knowing what lies next, but knowing he cannot stop now. The relentless pressure of dread and regret that had been squeezing his spirit for eternity seems to loosen just a fraction. It happens so subtly that he almost doesn't notice at first, until a sliver of light slices through the darkness. It doesn't come in a blaze, doesn't blind him, but it cuts a path, narrow and fragile, like a single spark drifting into a black void. That light doesn't erase the emotional pain, far from it. Instead, it reveals a route, a direction through the shadows where nothing else existed before. That jagged glow becomes a magnet. He is drawn forward, moving with cautious steps along this delicate path. This light feels like hope distilled into substance, something pure in the core of a place saturated with fear and sorrow. His heart, the remnant of his heart, begins beating again. Not in a physical sense, but spiritually. It pulses with possibility, with yearning he thought had died decades ago. He realizes his entire being is responding to this revelation. A voice emerges through the shadows. It's calm, steady, and gentle, like someone who has seen everything and yet refuses to condemn. That voice poses a single, simple question. Do you want another chance? That question reverberates inside his soul, echoing through every chamber of memory he tried to lock away. He doesn't speak, because he can't. Words have no place here, but internally, all of him cries out in longing. Yes, 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 he wants another chance to undo wrongs, to say the things he never said, to heal the people he hurt. He wants to live differently, to awaken from the emotional coma he's been in for so long. That desire floods him with desperate hope. As the voice resonates, the oppressive shadows that once pressed in from all sides begin to retreat. They don't vanish. They don't transform. Instead, they sidestep, granting space. It's as if the light's arrival commands respect, even from the darkest corners of this realm. Where remorse once pressed him into immobility, now there is room to breathe. With each step forward, the stains of shame and the weight of regret loosen. He can feel old burdens lifting. Inside him, something shifts. There's a fracture in his emotional armor, something he's carried since childhood, or maybe for all his life. It might have been pride or denial, perhaps habits made out of fear or neglect. But now that barrier cracks. It doesn't shatter him. Instead, it breaks just enough to let in the transformation he'd been too afraid to allow. He inhales, not air, but a new kind of breath that tastes like possibility. It's more than relief. It's recognition that this moment is a reckoning and maybe a beginning. He steps forward again, and the path pulses beneath his essence. It bends slightly, adapting to his journey. The distant glow ahead grows, softly strengthening, as though affirming his choice. The voice does not speak again. It doesn't need to. The invitation's power lies in its silence, in the way the soul understands without words. Mercy doesn't shout. It simply shines. He notices the shadows lingering still behind him and on the sides. They watch him. Some hold out memories more painful, deeper regrets, but they no longer attack. They exist, but as reminders, not tormentors. The path is separating him from the chaos of every choice that constricted his soul. Yet he is no less responsible. He carries his past with him. The difference is now he chooses what to do with it. He walks step by step. Hope and terror twist together inside him. Hope because he's facing a chance he never believed he deserved. Terror because to take that chance means confronting everything he avoided. Pain, accountability, transformation. But something stronger than fear is propelling him. This is spiritual awakening, a soul journey of near-death revelation that transcends fear. Each step is a reclaiming of self, a restoration of conscience. He looks around and sees that whatever this realm is, a threshold between condemnation and renewal, responds to him. The light brightens in harmony with his will. The air shifts. He feels the tone of eternity humming around him. This revelation is more than a turning point. It's proof that something beyond physical existence cares about the soul, that redemption is real, that spiritual resurrection is possible. Inside, he can feel layers of old defenses falling away. Excuses, justifications, regret, they collapse under the weight of his sincerity. It's excruciating, but under that agony is purpose. He is here, willingly, walking toward that glow. He climbs the narrow path and time stretches, but also becomes irrelevant, because it doesn't matter how long it takes. What matters is that he's moving forward. With every footstep, the darkness shrinks. The atmosphere warms, not with heat, but with the warmth of spiritual conviction. Each step aligns him more with the path of truth and redemption. His soul begins to feel less like a battlefield and more like sacred ground. He recognizes that he is being refined, that this near-death experience, this crossing between worlds, might not have been an accident, but a confrontation with his own spiritual accountability. He doesn't know what waits ahead. Maybe at the end of this path is a final test, a divine reckoning, or a gift of mercy. Maybe it's the edge of coming back to life itself. But he knows this: he has chosen. Even if his voice never emerges, his soul has answered. He wants another chance. He wants to be different. He wants to carry this revelation back to the world he came from. He continues forward, and the path grows clearer, more solid, yet still delicate. It beckons with purpose, guiding him somewhere he's never been, but always belonged. And in that moment of profound revelation, he feels something break inside him. Old defenses, ancient, pride, or maybe denial itself. Whatever it was, it cracks. And in that crack spills the light of transformation, and he walks through it. The silence stretches as he approaches whatever lies next. The light holds steady. The past has stopped echoing, and the voice is gone, but the invitation lingers. Do you want another chance? His soul remains mid-step, between shadow and glow, between regret and redemption, between death and what may be the return of life. And just as he reaches for whatever comes next, everything shifts again. The jolt back to life isn't gentle, it's violent, as if reality itself slams back into his chest. His eyes snap open, wide and wet, sucking in the overhead lights like they're piercing through dimensions. A doctor's voice rises in disbelief, urgent and astonished. A nurse gasps. The heart monitor erupts in sound, chaotic yet beautiful, like the universe itself applauding his return. He doesn't speak. He can't, not yet. His body is trembling, not from the surgery, not from the physical ordeal, but from the gravity of where he's been. His eyes dart around the room. Everything looks the same, but it isn't. Nothing will ever look the same again. The ceiling tiles, the fluorescent lights, the gloved hands. It all feels distant, like echoes from a life he left behind. Because for those minutes, however long they truly were, he wasn't just unconscious. He was somewhere else. And that place wasn't a dream. It wasn't the mind grasping for meaning in the dark. It was real, and it changed everything. Tears streaked down the sides of his face, unprovoked, unrestrained. They don't come from physical pain. They come from a spiritual weight that can't be put into words. A silent cry of the soul that has returned from the edge and knows too much to ever forget. No amount of rationalization, no scientific explanation can dilute what he experienced, what he saw, what he felt, the darkness that breathed, the voice that offered redemption, the revelation that cracked him open and exposed him to eternity. It all happened, and it left a mark no scalpel could reach. The doctors work around him, stabilizing his vitals, speaking in controlled chaos. But he's focused on something else. He's not thinking about recovery or test results. He's thinking about what comes next, because survival is no longer just biological. It's spiritual. He's alive, yes, but now he carries something with him. A truth, a responsibility, a calling. His breathing steadies, but his soul is still on fire. Every heartbeat reminds him he was allowed to come back, not by accident, not by chance, but by grace. And that grace came with a question that still lingers in the depths of his consciousness. Do you want another chance? That question haunts him, not as a threat, but as a promise. A second chance is never given lightly. It demands something in return. He looks at the faces around him, doctors, nurses, blinking monitors, and he sees them differently. These people are still tethered to the world he almost left forever. They don't know what waits on the other side. They haven't felt the cold presence of their own regrets turned into shadow. They haven't stood before the light that sees everything. But maybe, just maybe, they should know. Because there's something no one talks about. Not in textbooks, not in sermons, not in polite conversation. There's a realm beyond this one, where truth can't be hidden, where your soul is stripped bare, where judgment doesn't come with fire and brimstone, but with silence that reflects everything you are. And once you've seen that, you don't just come back, you awaken. He swallows hard, and for the first time, he feels the full weight of his return. He survived not to resume life as before, but to speak of what most are afraid to hear, to become a voice for what lies beyond the veil, to prepare others, anyone willing to listen, for the truth that death is not the end, and what follows can shake even the strongest soul. So now I ask you, the one watching this, what do you believe happens when we die? Have you ever felt something beyond the veil? Have you dreamed, seen, or sensed something that defied logic? If this story stirred something in you, an emotion, a fear, a memory, share it below. I want to read your story. You never know who might be reading and realize they're not alone. And if you're drawn to stories like this, real accounts of near-death experiences, visions of the afterlife, spiritual awakenings, from the edge, then subscribe. This is not just content, it's a calling. A digital sanctuary for those who dare to ask, what comes after? Because this man's story is just one of many. And trust me, what's coming next will make you question everything you thought you knew about life, death, and what waits on the other side.